You're still watching The Conversation. Now, the MK party has been highly critical of the ruling African National Congress, where the former President Jacob Zuma used to lead. It has been embroiled in legal cases over whether it and Zuma are eligible to contest the May 29th national and provincial elections. This could be the most pivotal in South Africa in the last 30 years. South African police were investigating on Tuesday. Its former president, Jacob Zuma's new political party, forced supporters' signatures to register for the national elections next month. Now, joining me on the program is Siyabulela Jentile, President Not In My Name International, joining from Johannesburg, South Africa. Siya, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me on the program. Good evening to you.
Oh, great. Good evening, too. Now, what do you make of this recent move by the South African police? Is it really necessary?
I mean, of course, it is necessary. These elections are very contentious, like any other elections. You'll remember that South Africa its democracy is now 30 years old. So our democracy is actually an adult now. And as such, it needs to be taken with the seriousness that it deserves. And so any act or any allegations of criminality towards these elections must be investigated by the reputable law enforcement agencies to get to the bottom of the allegations. And if and when the MK party is found wanting, is found guilty of forging the signatures as alleged, then heads must roll. We are saying that, in fact, one, it must be deregistered. But secondly, the people who are involved in the commission of this criminal act must be arrested and face the full might of the law. We have now learned that in an affidavit submitted by a former official of the MK, 20 people were hired allegedly to pull out details, ID numbers, surnames, as well as cell phone numbers of job seekers in a job portal database, and they were used as, to be submitted to the Independent Electoral Commission. And so that is an act of criminality. And we are saying that should the police find that it has happened, people must be arrested.
But don't you also see chances of political motivation here, where we know the elections are just around the corner? The MK party seems to be gaining ground. And of course, the former president, Jacob Zuma, is involved. So looking at this and the context, current situation right now, don't you also want to say or look at it from an angle where maybe, there's some sort of political undertone to this?
No, of course. One can never, leave out the potential political hands that are at play here. However, we cannot dismiss allegations of this magnitude on the basis of, us just dismissing them as politics. It is politics at the end of the day. However, they still need to be tested by a reputable court of law. And we have always maintained that South African elections, these national and provincial government elections, are under threat from many facets and many, from many platforms. I'll make an example that last night I was on this platform talking about how the IEC met with the U.S. ambassador to South Africa, and we're asking questions around the contents of the meeting. And so there's many things that are happening around these elections, and so we cannot just dismiss allegations on the basis of just being politics. At the end of the day, politics are everywhere. Everything is politics. The air we breathe is politics. The food we eat, this discussion is political. And so we need them to be tested in the court of law. By the way, this is not only to the MK party. We are saying that all other parties, by the way, there are other parties who are facing the same allegations, but they've not, no criminal cases have been opened yet. And as soon as that is done, we will also be making the same call that they should be investigated, because there seems to be a lot of criminality surrounding these elections.
I mean, talking about cases here and, of course, malpractice. Now, should the MK party be found guilty, it's likely to be disqualified, from the race. What do you think, what impact do you think this will have on voter motivation and also, impact on the general election?
No, I think what it will do actually, it will strengthen these elections. It will show South Africans that, and the entire African continent, that we are a country that values democracy, we are a country that upholds the rule of law, a country that respects our constitution. And that will be because we did not tolerate acts of criminality. Of course, there will be those few people who will be discouraged. However, they need to understand that we cannot have a party that is, and that is if they, as you are saying, that they've proven to be on the wrong. We cannot have a party in government, or a party that is most likely or perhaps to win the elections, being found guilty of rigging elections, being guilty of forging signatures and forging documents, people's names and so on. These are the people who will be responsible for trillions of rands of.
I think we lost our connection there with Sia for a moment, but of course, once we are able to connect back with him, we, of course, will initiate that conversation. But just to keep you up to speed, South Africa is gearing up for its presidential polls, just around the corner. And it's been heated. The policy has been really heated because the former president of the country, Jacob Zuma, is back in the race. And this time around, it brought out a wild card. It decided to, of course, set up a party called the MK Party after it fell out with the ANC over disagreements, even though he had legal troubles. But it's back in the race. And to the, well, I call it surprise of many, and not so much of a surprise either, Jacob Zuma has quite a lot of support and following. The MK Party, too, has garnered quite a lot of support. And maybe, just, maybe South Africa in 30 years might see a paradigm shift in the policy. But recent developments did have it that there were irregularities as regards the registration of the party. And of course, the police had to swing into action, talking about signatures being forged, which of course has, as part of the process, of registering the party, but it's still being investigated even as we speak. Now, South Africa in 30 years, it's been under the leadership of the ANC. Jacob Zuma, who is now part of the MK, became president under the ANC, and right now it's the tenure of Cyril Ramaphosa, and this current president has had quite his own fair share of scandals. We know of the Falafala scandal, amongst others, and other key officials within the party itself. But I think at this point, let's go on a quick break, pay some bills, and we'll be right back. You're still watching The Conversation on News Central Television, and we're talking about, of course, the elections just around the corner in South Africa, where the MK Party has been subject to investigation over registration, well, I call it irregularities right now. Now, joining me on the program, still with me on the program, is Siyabulela Jentile. He is the president, Not in My Name International from Johannesburg, South Africa. We lost connection with him, a while ago. Sia, thank you for joining back. Okay, I understand that we are trying to still connect with him, but still talking about South Africa. Another interesting angle to this particular election is that South Africans are beginning to ask critical questions. We know that in this, since the COVID-19 pandemic, quite a number of African countries have been really hit economically. But in the case of South Africa, it didn't just suffer some sort of economic setback. It also had power outages, where Eskom, had severe crisis, and load shedding did happen. And of course, this amongst corruption and quite a plethora of issues. But I understand we have Sia back. Thank you for, of course, hanging on. Let's get back to it. My question right now to you is this. Do you think that this election, because there's a bit of political tension in the air, do you see a situation where it might turn out maybe a little violent?
Yes. Look, we are very peaceful people generally. But we cannot rule out elements of violence amongst us. There are those who have threatened. You'll remember not so long ago that we had an issue whereby the very same former President Jacob Zuma there was a case involving him, his name being removed from the ballot, and there were those people who were saying that should he not be allowed to participate, then there's going to be violence. There's not going to be any elections that are going to take place in South Africa. And so there are those elements of violence. There are those undertones, and there are those little threats amongst some of us who say, what, these elections, if they don't go this way, some people have got predetermined wishes or outcomes on as to how this election should go. But we have utmost faith in our law enforcement agencies. We believe that South Africans value the democracy and the rule of law, and they will make sure that no violence will be tolerated, or there will not be any questions asked as to the integrity of our elections. Hence, we are saying that there must not be any funny meetings taking place here with foreign countries such as the US ambassadors going to the independent electoral commission's offices to have meetings that we do not understand. We're avoiding the very same issues that we're talking about now. So yeah, there are threats of violence. There are those who have promised violence should these elections not go their way. But we believe and have faith in our law enforcement agencies.
All right, just in 30 seconds before I let you go, what are the chances of the ruling party, retaining power after the elections? Do you see a situation whereby there might just be a paradigm shift?
No, yeah, the chances are still there. The ruling party is still very much strong. However, we believe that after these elections, South Africa will be dominated by coalition government. And that is what the people want, and the people must get what they want. And so we believe that power will be shared amongst several parties. But, it will be naive of us to say that, the African National Congress will fall down, to be reduced to a minority. It will still retain a significant power. However, they will not enjoy as much power as they have been enjoying over the years. And that is what we want. If the people say that power must be shared, then power must be shared. This is a democratic country, and the will of the people shall prevail.
All right, Siya Jentile, President, Not in My Name International from Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you once again for your time on the program.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Bye.
All right. And that's a wrap on today's show. In case you missed out, you can actually catch up on our YouTube platform. The name is News Central TV. Until I come your way again, my name is Dakwa Digboyi. Bye for now.